Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick in, here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome in Defeating the Curse, postseason edition. My name is Joe. We got FP on mic 2 and Razzie on mic 3. It's good to see you, boys. It's good to see you. It's been this is later than we usually or typically record, but I think everybody needed that extra day. There was definitely breaking news late last week, and I do want to start on Redskins / Commanders news, and then we'll pivot into all the goodness that the NFL gave us this weekend. The Commanders got their guy. I think I was probably the most skeptical last week about the basketball guy coming in to run the football team or the search for the football guy, but they got the guy that was number one on everybody's list. This continues a trend of offseason wins. Last year was very much the same, even though it was a completely different cast of characters. Obviously, Snyder was still the owner and Ron was still the coach, but everybody wanted EB, and the Commanders were able to get EB. Maybe that penny has lost a little bit of its shine moving forward. It certainly has lost some of its shine, but Adam Peters was the guy they wanted. This was number one, absolute number one target, and he's here. He's here. He arrived in a snowstorm. They did a nice bit with the video montage arriving at Dulles and on Redskins 1. I don't think the name is actually the plane actually hasn't been rebranded, but that's for another day. But Razzie, I mean, they got the guy they wanted. Like, this is the guy they wanted. They got him. I mean, how do you feel about it? I mean,
this is the turning of the guard. Usually, the Commanders won't be able to get these type of interviews, and usually the Commanders won't be able to be the top job. I mean, if you just think of everything that we have going on for us this offseason, I know we're always, champs of the offseason, whether it's, free agent spending or it's a big name executive coming in, whether it's, Serrato or Allen, whatever. But here we are, like, with the off-season, lottery ticket, with the number 2 pick, the cap space, a brand new owner who's ready to spend, and we got the guy Adam Peters. He's been around the league. He's been around winning environments. He was in New England. He was in Denver. He just most recently coming from San Francisco. He was John Lynch's number 2 guy. We've seen the type of success and the type of roster and type of organization they've been able to build, in the 6-7 years they've been there together. So this is a dream scenario for us. Obviously, we have an outstanding step of moving on and trying to find the head coach, but I am ecstatic. I am excited. I am back on the bandwagon.
Welcome back.
Let's get our season.
Clearly all in.
Let's get our season.
You should have never left.
I'll be there at FedEx, week 1. This is the beginning of
I'm not going to take it that far. I think it is a good hire. I mean, he was there. He was instrumental. You mentioned Lynch as well. Post Harbaugh, post Kaepernick, like, that team had a still serviceable defense, but it had to be rebuilt. And those two guys in particular, obviously, plus Shanahan, plus Coach Shanahan, they're the ones that deserve the credit for doing so. FP, how do you feel about the hire? And are you still riding high on Ben Johnson?
So about the hire first, it's uncharted territory that we are the bells of the ball, right? So like Razzle was saying, getting Peters in here just speaks to it. It's a tangible thing that you can see and hold on to from the Snyder to Harris shift, right? Peters was turning down interviews left and right last season, right? He turned down the Panthers with similar situation, right? They had a high draft pick. They had money to spend, all of that, and he turned them down. And obviously, Tepper's not viewed as the best owner, right? But Harris comes in, and we make the hire, and he comes in here, and everybody had been wanting Peters for so long. And just kind of when you see his presser and the way he's talking, right, and the things the way he is in front of the camera and behind the mic, he looks more competent than anybody we've ever had in here. And the biggest thing to notice is he called Josh Harris Josh. He didn't call him Mr. Harris. He didn't pull this Mr. Snyder nonsense thing. They're essentially equals for the most part, right? Like, they're working together collectively. I have 100% faith that if they want Ben Johnson, we will be the team to get Ben Johnson. If we want Slowick, we will be the team to get Slowick. It's the efficiency that's kind of getting me hyped, right? So a lot of people are questioning, like, oh, how did he leave the 49ers already while they're still kind of in the playoffs, and he came here to start, and he's here right now. Well, he's an assistant GM. You don't really do much as an assistant GM for a first seed team that was on a bye week. Like, he's not doing anything. But the fact that he came here, right, and this, we're one of the first teams that kind of, right, posted on social media our shiny new toy, our new hire, and he comes in here, and then right away you see we have interviews set up with Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris and everything, and maybe it's to beat the other teams, like get the Rooney Rule taken care of, get all the other interviews taken care of, and then as soon as Ben Johnson, as soon as Slowick are available, we pounce, right? We make the move. We do the due diligence early so that we're not caught with our pants down like the Redskins always have been in previous years.
You mean when they when they hired Jim Zorn to run the offense and then
when
to
exactly, we don't run out of anything. So it's a great vibe to have, to see us kind of be run efficiently, and kind of what you were saying, right? Like having the basketball come in and having all this brain trust of what to do and how to run the organization to bring in Peters at the start. It's good. I like to see Josh Harris be like, I don't know a lot about the NFL, but I know about running teams. I know about running franchises. And it's clicking, it's working. And you don't want him to think he's the smartest guy in the room. You don't want him to think that he's Jerry Jones or Dan Snyder in the past and be like, I know what I want and I'm going to go do it. And I'm not going to ask anyone.
No, FP makes a great point about the efficiency. This was the first hire of the offseason for anyone. And everyone made the comments about the committee and the basketball guy. We brought in we had all these people, decision makers. Josh Harris didn't know what he was doing. We made a decision. We beat everyone to the punch to get Adam Peters. The only other hire that I can think of is, the Patriots pulling Gerard Mayo as their head coach, but that was already figured out a year ago. It was in his contract. So the efficiency and how quickly the Commanders moved to make this deal and to make Peters their guy. They knew Peters their guy. Everything else was a smokescreen. There was talks of the Chicago assistant GM as well as being a candidate. Peters was their guy. Peters wanted to be in DC, and here we are.
Yeah, and Peters, he just looks like they have a certain look to them. I don't know how to exactly describe it, right? But, you go back to Serrato, right? Like Serrato was brought in to achieve a very specific purpose, right? He in a different era as well, right? Just kind of build the roster. That was the role of a GM. Bruce Allen, we affectionately call him Goose, right? He came in and his sole purpose was not actually football related. It was stadium and merch and whatever. And the team really hasn't had a GM now for a while, right? They've had people in different positions, whether it was Jason Wright or whoever. I mean, there's always been like a revolving.
Remember Scott McLuhan? I was listening to
Scott
the
McLuhan, but he was personnel. He was also
we've never had an actual GM title in decades.
Yeah, and this is, and it's needed, right? And my hope is that Peters is the one that's actually going to lead the charge, and he's going to get the guy he wants, right, to be the head coach. And the names that you guys that we've thrown out here, like the two or three of them, like if I'm not mistaken, Raheem was already a coach here, but like he's somewhat of a known
coach here.
Ben Johnson is universally like he's this season's Eric Bieniemy, right? Like he's an absolute known commodity. Like there's no surprises there. I don't know how difficult that interview would actually, or that interview process would be for him. And like I went way down the well on Ben Johnson. He every player that he has coached has played better for him than wherever they came from or wherever they left him, right? And that is I would say I think Goff is
playing better.
He's playing better
than he did in LA.
Yeah, I think so.
Statistically, by the numbers, he's playing better.
Even if it's a wash, Razzie, right? Like all the other positions, like he got more out of running backs and more. Look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like look at him and tell me he's not McLaurin.
And the other receiver, they had Reynolds, who actually was from
absolutely.
LA.
They also you let somebody like DeAndre Swift go, and you bring in Jahmyr Gibbs, and you have Montgomery. Like they don't miss. They didn't miss the beat.
The resurgence of Montgomery. That's another one, right? So I'm definitely buying the Ben Johnson hype. And like, I know some people will get in their feelings about like, it's too expensive to pay a coach $10 million. Like I gotta be honest. a few seasons ago, I would have cared about how much money was being spent on the coaches. I have to be honest, I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
not against the cap.
It
Spend what
doesn't
you want to
impact
spend
me
comfortable.
one iota whether they pay him $5 million or $10 million. And look at that donk down in Carolina, right? Tepper's paying 4 different coaches right now.
Yeah.
Because he keeps mowing
Same
through
thing
them,
in Vegas,
right?
thing in
And same
Vegas,
thing
that's
exactly.
right,
So
yeah.
like I don't care. I am excited that Peters is the guy here. I am hopeful that Ben Johnson is the guy that comes in, and he's got a lot of work to do, right? But I think FP, you said it, or maybe it was Razzie right at the jump. They have a lot of interesting pieces here, right? Like they're not a quarterback away, but they're also not, they're not Carolina. Like they've got a ton of draft picks, they've got cap space, and
Well, I mean, Peter said it himself. He said this isn't a full rebuild, which was kind of shocking in his presser for him to say that, because
I like
PTSD, we're like throw everyone away, but he's right. We're not a full rebuild.
it also
And you
shows that
do-
he knows the team, and
Yeah.
he may know some of the pieces. I mean, he did execute a trade with this team like less than 3 months ago, right? Like
Right.
he was involved in the trade that landed Chase Young over there, and the draft pick that's coming back is actually his draft pick. So
Yes.
Yeah.
like I think all of that factors in, and now he's in a unique position where he's looking around the NFC East, and maybe this is our segue into talking about some of this playoff football here. But the East, I mean, we want it to be strong, and we want to believe that it's the NFC beast and it's the toughest division and blah blah blah. And I would still, I think, fight and maybe die on that hill that it's the toughest division, not because necessarily the teams are the best. I think it's because they play each other the best. The NFC South is a good example of that too. Like you don't know going into the season which team is going to have that little bit of an advantage over another one. But you look at these teams on the NFC East, look at specifically the Eagles, whom the Commanders faced played very well both times, and the Cowboys, who flamed out in the playoffs. And you got to look at this and say, hey, the path to playoffs.
The NFC East is on fire right now. We are the most positive looking future team in the NFC East. I mean, we saw what happened. I don't know if we're going to recap the games or look forward ahead.
We'll we'll go through them.
Yeah. So, but even like the Giants have a lot of like uncertainty at quarterback, uncertainty within the coaching staff. They let go of the defensive coordinator with Martindale. If you want to get on a bandwagon in the NFC East, come join the Commanders, because
terrible
everyone else,
bright future. Yeah. I think, and we'll. I mean, I don't know the best way to go through these games. I actually want to start with the Eagles, because I think that team to me is in more trouble than the Cowboys are, right? And I'll just start like both of these teams because there are division rivals. That's where I want to go. There's no specific order here, but like looking at the Eagles, looking at Jalen and that roster, how it's constructed, that defense. I mean, they are the first team in NFL history. I couldn't believe this stat. First team in NFL history to start 10-1 and not reach 12 wins.
Right.
Yeah. What an absolute epic! Like they shouldn't have made the playoffs, right? Like
they shouldn't have. No,
they should have pulled the Saints in their place or some other team. Like somebody else should have had that shot. They were reeling the back half of the season. And I think we saw signs of this against the Skins early in the season when, they were hanging with them. But down the stretch, I mean, the wheels completely came off. I don't think Sirianni is the guy. I mean, FP, I know you're going to give me your soundbite here on Sirianni, and that's fine. I'm ready.
I'll take it. I know I get a lot of.
You do not want
Sirianni. I would bring
Sirianni.
DC in a heartbeat.
You do not bring Sirianni.
Let me make the case. Okay, the Eagles collapsed. I agree with everything you said. The Eagles managed the Super Bowl last year, since the Super Bowl, lost 2 of their coordinators. Their offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators both got head coaching jobs in Indianapolis and Arizona.
Okay.
They had a number of injuries this past season. I mean, Jalen Hurts.
Everybody has injuries next.
Okay. The defense took a huge step backwards, and then I don't know what they did.
This is the case for Sirianni that you're making right now?
So.
I'm saying,
let's see.
Let's see where he ends up. 3 seasons, fine. In 3 seasons, they made the playoffs. I know you guys don't think they should have made the playoffs this year, but they made the playoffs this year. 3 seasons, and he led them in the Super Bowl.
First of all,
easiest strength of schedule in 2 of those 3 seasons.
2 years. The first year they made the playoffs, didn't they they got destroyed by the Buccaneers and Tom Brady?
They were,
and Jalen Hurts did nothing. So that was a fake playoff appearance. That was just a weak NFC.
But that was the building year to last year when they made it to the Super Bowl. And they were 3 points away.
Listen. If you're a head coach that doesn't call plays. What is your job? To put the right people in place.
He's Ron.
He's Ron Rivera. Your job is to put the right people in place. If you lose your coordinators, and you had all offseason with the roster was built by Howie, so Sirianni gets no love for that, right? He didn't build that roster. Howie Roseman built that roster. So his job was bring in coordinators and get the team rolling, right? He hired terrible coordinators. Everybody in Philadelphia wants Johnson fired more than Sirianni because they have a trade. They bring in Swift. Yeah. They don't run the ball. It's exactly like EB coming in. We are built to be a running team, a running O-line, and we passed it 1,000 times a game. You broke the team. Sirianni broke the team. And then to bring in Matt Patricia as your defensive coordinator, that was the start of the crumble.
Yeah, like, I can't be anywhere near a clipboard or a pro team.
Right.
He's just not qualified.
Sirianni is just the most punchable face in the NFL.
There it is.
He's done nothing.
Ding, ding,
ding. He has done nothing.
All right, so Pete from Philly, I'm sure is going to have some comments on that, but that's fine. But
Pete from Philly probably agrees with me 100%.
He does. Actually,
everybody in Philly
low key. I want to put his business out there, but he didn't even watch the game. He knew going into the game they were going to lose by 100. He didn't even watch.
Yeah,
I can't imagine my team making it to the playoffs and not watching. But I guess as an Eagles fan, they're that entitled that you don't have to. I don't know. Like, good for them, I guess. But the mismanagement, misuse, and the DeAndre Swift thing, I don't understand. Every time he touches the ball, he has the potential to score a touchdown. Every single time.
No sense.
They were losing. They got down early in the game.
And they still had one of the better O lines in the league. Why wouldn't you pound the ball?
Even with Kelsey retiring, you got to figure they'll replace Kelsey in the upcoming draft. Maybe one or two guys and figure out which one's better. But I got to just say this, just my piece on Jalen. I'm 100% out on Jalen. I was never convinced he was the guy. And frankly,
you were convinced on the guy when you made it to the fantasy football championship. You were writing him all over.
Yeah, fantasy stats fine, but like I don't want him anywhere near my team. This guy speaks in freaking like riddles and poems. He has no emotion.
It wasn't our time. The sun will come out tomorrow.
I'm 100% out on this. Like he does the mumble. He talks like that. I don't care if he can squat 6,000 pounds. When he needed to push to get, he couldn't do it. Like I'm out. I'm out on this 100%.
Well, when you have AJ Brown on the sideline going at it with Jalen, the whole reason AJ Brown came is because of Jalen Hurts, right? And they were boys and blah blah blah.
And they looked great when they were throwing him the ball.
And then there was a schism, right? And AJ Brown was like, "F this team. I'm not playing. I could probably go against the Bucs, but I'm not. I hate this team." And then even then on the sideline, you have Dallas Goedert, who also like just called Hurts a bitch. It was just like, "I'm done with you." Like, there's a point in time where, and on the flip side, if you look at Baker and the Buccaneers, everybody from the media to the coaches to the players, they're like, Baker's that dude. He's the leader. He will go to the coaches, the defense, the special teams, the offense, everybody, and he will be that leader, and he will be that guy that kind of like rallies the team, raises them up. Jalen is not that guy.
Can you imagine being AJ Brown and basically seeing the game script being super, like the game script, like what the coaches prepared for the game, being run heavy, deciding, I don't feel like I want to play in this game. Then seeing how the game started and basically have to go super pass heavy the rest of the way and lose by 1,000,000 points. Like,
and that's another thing against Sirianni, right? Is you should be run heavy.
He lost the locker
7 weeks ago.
He just needs a fresh start. Come to DC.
To be fair, one caveat: the last win that the Eagles had was the day that LP put in a bet that they would win the Super Bowl, and since then they lost all their games. So 100%, you could blame LP if you're Pete or if you're any of the Philly fans. But go ahead and blame LP.
They are between if you look at the Eagles and look at the Cowboys, right? I'm gonna say I know the Cowboys, and we're gonna talk about them in a second. The Eagles can't run it back with this squad again. Like they have
a lot of old aging contracts on that roster.
The defense is simply not gonna get it done, and I don't think Jalen's their guy. Like they have had a revolving door at that position that with success at quarterback, but I think they got to bail on Jalen.
They're not going to move on.
They're not going to bail on Jalen, but I mean, if you look,
there's rumors that
they got DeAndre. Maybe they bring Brown. Maybe AJ Brown can be talked back into playing. They've got some other skill positions for sure. That O line will still be great even with Kelsey retiring. So like they're not, but they can't run it back exactly as it's constructed today. Whereas if I'm the Cowboys, I think
I
I'm
was gonna say, who would you rather run it back with, the Cowboys or the Eagles?
100% the Cowboys. The Cowboys are missing one of their best defensive players that they've had. It's been out since week 1. They've been able to score in bunches whenever they wanted to. Dak had a bad game, and we'll talk about them here in a second. But if you're the Eagles, you can't show up in August with the same roster.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that if you're going to pick between the two of them, who can't run it back? Because I would say the Eagles had more excuses of why they lost on Monday night versus
I'm just
the
looking
Cowboys.
at the roster, Razzie. I'm looking at the roster.
Cowboys were home 2 seed, had
Yeah.
everything going for them this year, where they were going to play San Francisco in the conference championship.
They still scored 30-plus points. I know some of it was garbage.
Oh, come on, Joe. They scored half of those points. They put all
Dallas needs a running back. Dallas needs a running back.
Yeah, Pollard's not the guy.
They need a running back. You could draft 5 of them and hope 2 of them work out and be
They need to be better prepared.
Razzle, are you telling me?
Forget about running back. That running back isn't going to tackle.
Are you telling me if Jerry Jones doesn't go out and get Derrick Henry this offseason for the Cowboys, that
Henry's so done?
Derrick
Henry's not going to.
You put Derrick Henry behind
Henry on that team, he's going to be great.
He's not going to save the Cowboys.
That's a resurgence.
He's not going to tackle anyone because that defense couldn't tackle anyone. Matt LaFleur,
they had a bad game. Listen, the Eagles had 10 bad games to end the season. The Cowboys had 2. Right? They lost. But
that makes it even worse. They had everything lined up for them.
I agree with you. They weren't. I agree.
They should. But that brings on the conversation, and that's kind of the point that Joe was making. Is there's one team, the loss is kind of the roster and the players just said, "F it, we're not doing that." That's the Eagles.
Yes.
And the Cowboys, they have the roster, the players, everything in place.
And
all they need, they need a Bill Belichick. They need somebody to come in that's not McCarthy, that is better prepared, and they're riled up and they're ready to go.
Like with McCarthy, right? I mean, that's the bottom line.
I mean, McCarthy, he's
had
that problem since Green Bay. That's why they got rid of him in Green Bay.
But like these rumors about potentially trading Dak to the Bears, or like you can't trade Dak. First of all, there's no guarantee you get something equal or better. And I think you can win with Dak. I think they legitimately need a running back that can chew up clock and help. And I don't want to take anything away from the Packers. The Packers called and played a perfect football game.
It's the genius of Matt LaFleur.
Like of all the teams,
and it wasn't even close. The game was never close.
Yeah,
but I'm saying the Cowboys weren't close in that game. The Cowboys never had a chance. From the first drive, the Packers went down the field. They went up 7-0, and then the Cowboys.
But there's also something. There's also something about them being shell shocked, right? And it was hard to come out of it. But towards the end of the game, meaningless or not, they came out of it. The Eagles were shell shocked.
They got a bunch of points down the stretch,
and nothing happened.
Yeah, the Eagles look worse than the Browns. I mean, and the Browns, they lost, I think, by the widest margin. But
the Eagles looked worse than Miami against Kansas City.
Yeah, they were lifeless from the beginning.
Yeah.
Jalen. I mean, you can say he was injured or not injured, but again, you have DeAndre Swift. Like you have the means to chew up clock to get points without Hurts having to throw it a million times, and they didn't do it.
Right, and if they're gonna stack the box and go zero blitz every single down, run the ball.
Right.
Why are you gonna keep dropping down and passing? You have Jay Gruden fighting with Brian Mitchell because of this.
I don't like talk about things that aren't worth 5 seconds of my time. That nonsense back and forth is not worth 5 seconds of my time.
No, but Jay Gruden drunk tweeting is hilarious, and then B. Mitch fighting him.
I don't know what B. Mitch is doing. Like stay out. Like Robert going for the attention dollars, and then B. Mitch just piling on. I didn't understand it, but
I love it. Let's make Twitter fun again.
I think if you're the Cowboys this offseason, you're locked on Derrick Henry coming to town, and maybe one or two
Derrick more. Henry's not going to tackle anyone.
You need a wide receiver too. You need somebody better next to CD.
Yeah, well, they had that guy. I mean, theoretically, right? In Amari, they let him bounce to Cleveland. Right. I mean, but you can find a receiver, right? If you can pull off a trade and move way up to grab a Harrison, do it.
They're going to lose Dan. They're going to lose Dan Quinn, so they need to find a nice replacement for as defensive coordinator who can actually.
I think if you potentially, I know Belichick is being linked. He's interviewed, whatever that means, with Atlanta. I don't know what that means. Like as if
Atlanta came out here and just said we're interviewing all the hot shots.
Yeah, what they should have said
Harbaugh too.
What they should have said is we called Bill and he answered the phone, and we're so lucky for him to do so. But if Bill ends up there, or even like a Vrabel, like I just feel like
defensive minded.
just
Why
somebody.
is there not more cheddar of Vrabel to DC? I mean,
You don't want Vrabel here.
I know you guys are on the Ben Johnson hype train, but
Vrabel's
why
a
wouldn't you
coach
want
that
Vrabel?
needs an
Vrabel-
established team. I don't trust him in building.
He also had middling success in a middling conference
division,
division, right?
He
like
never had a quarterback. He made Ryan Tannehill.
he doesn't
like,
have one.
There's your point right there. He can't find a quarterback.
No,
He
but
didn't
he
have one.
had success on a team without a quarterback. As my
Okay,
point.
but Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards.
Yeah,
Right. Like, I mean, it's I don't know how much of that was Ryan Tannehill, right? I mean, it's and he's also like the Colts stunk for years after Andrew Luck retired. The Jags are the Jags. I mean, and the Texans are an expansion team, right? So like, he had some
easy division. That's what you're trying to say.
I mean, does it scare you? I mean, that's a good
No,
open
it
post,
doesn't,
right?
it doesn't scare you, but I'm saying he's a good football coach.
I'm pretty sure
he's a leader of men. He'll bring the right people around him. He had good offensive coordinators
I don't know how
around
you
him.
get all that when you're in that division. Like you're playing against nobody for 6 games. Like I think that's what makes the position appealing, right? Because you get the right guy, and you're looking at 6 games. You got 4 out of those 6 wins.
I'm pretty sure if the Commanders were in that division, I think we would have made it with our 7-win teams to the playoffs like an extra 8 years.
Houston is good now, right?
Now
The Colts
Jags
They
are
were
now.
they're probably trash the last 2
Yeah,
years.
the Colts are 500-ish, right? And we'll see what they turn out to be. And the Jags can't get out of their own way. It's 2 seasons in a row that they can't get into the playoffs on the last week of the season. So, yeah, like I mean, Vrabel would be fine, but I think of Vrabel in Dallas makes a lot more sense than I know that he was originally linked to New England, but yeah, I don't understand what New
Or
England.
Vrabel in Seattle would be good.
Vrabel in Seattle could be good as well. New England is interesting because they need everything, and they offered extensions to Belichick's sons to stay on the staff there, but let their dad go. I don't
think the dad wanted to go. I think the dad was ready for a change.
Nothing. I was just watching the Gerard Mayo presser. Nothing about what they're doing looks like it's going to work. It just from the jump, everything looks like it's going to fall apart.
Gerard Mayo and Joe Flacco, I think, were both drafted in 2008.
Yes.
Like I don't know why they've anointed him or why they think he's it.
Right, and the question is, did Bill anoint him?
Yeah.
Was this Robert? Like it's a weird, not like bringing it back to the Commanders. It's kind of refreshing. You see something like the Patriots, and you're like, this will not work.
Yeah.
But then you look at the Commanders, and you're like, okay, this could work.
I feel like Jerry's the only owner that meddles, that gets it right more often than not. Right?
Jerry has been getting it right for the last 30 years.
Do you remember a season? Do you remember
hold on.
seasons where the Cowboys? Hold on. Can you recall the Cowboys thinking it up for 2 or 3 seasons in a row?
Yeah, I can. In the late 2000s.
No, it was for 2 years after Aikman. And
they went
Romo.
from when they had Romo for that period of time.
Yeah, and they went straight to Dak. Yeah, and there was a couple seasons, fine, that were you give them 1 or 2 stinky seasons, but it's nothing like what we had here in DC.
Listen, as a Commanders fan,
Sure, I know, but I'm saying as a
I would take 12-win
hasn't
seasons.
been that successful in the last 30 years.
I would take 12-win seasons every year for the last 2 decades and playoff disappointment.
100%. And this it's the most like clickbaity thing ever, right? Like, would you rather woe to the Cowboys fans? No, you get to make the playoffs consistently. You're America's team. Everyone loves you. You play in the 4:00 time slot.
Yeah.
So everybody watches you.
Fox love you. Fox love you.
Yeah, Fox loves you. Like, I mean, Jerry's a very marketable personality. Like, no, I don't feel bad.
I mean, that fan base is that fan base because they get 12-win seasons every single
I'd rather have 12 consistent 10, 11, 12-win seasons and lose consistently at home in the playoffs than be eternally, 3-15 or 4 and whatever, or 7-8 or 8-1. Like our best season here in the last, I mean, since all of Razzie's kids have been born was 8-9-1 or whatever it was, the Ron season, the 500 season.
Yeah.
Right. So like it stinks. Right. So I don't know, we'll pivot here into the next thing, but the Eagles, I think, got to make some changes. The Cowboys, I don't think they make any big moves, except they should lock in on Derrick Henry. That's exactly what they need. A bruiser, somebody who's going to be able to extend drives and score. What they had in young Zeke and what they don't have now in Tony Pollard, right? But I think they're like this notion of potentially trading CeeDee Lamb is nonsense. Even trading Dak, like The only place that might make sense is Minnesota, maybe, and that's because you're getting basically the same guy back in Dirk in Kirk Cousins.
The funny thing with Dak is if he wasn't a Cowboy, I wouldn't hate him at all. I love Dak as like a
He's a really
human,
good
as
guy.
a man,
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
guy. He's
Charitable,
he's a
takes care of his
solid
family.
QB too.
Yeah.
I just hate him because he's a Cowboys quarterback.
Yeah,
all it comes down to.
I agree with this. I agree with this. Let's pivot and talk about maybe the worst game of the weekend, Super Wild Card weekend. The Steelers at the Bills. This game got pushed from Saturday, I think, from early slot Sunday into Monday afternoon. It is always fun to watch these terrible weather games, and I commented in our like offline chat. The weather is such an advantage. It can be such a huge advantage. I think it's actually almost unfair that teams like Miami have to travel, or even Pittsburgh have to go to places like Buffalo and play where it's just absolutely frigid and it's terrible conditions. And, obviously the schedule changed in this case, but, keeping it back to the things that happen, things on the field, the Bills, they looked good for 3 quarters. I think they struggled to put that game away. And this is always the concern, in my opinion, with Josh Allen in particular. It just seems like they take quarters at a time off. And I mean, they certainly can't afford to do that against the Chiefs next week, but they get to host the Chiefs. The Steelers, I mean, I don't know how you can look at Tomlin and the Steelers and say anything but he preys on them for this type of season, given all the injuries, all the changes at quarterback. Pickens doesn't want to block. Pickens is a stud. Losing JJ Watt.
Isn't that coaching? I mean,
yeah, for sure.
That's praise on coaching.
Yeah, it's praise on coaching.
No,
they made it to the playoffs with bums.
Yeah.
Never had a losing season.
The case you just made for Sirianni, people quitting, people sucking,
people
not people. No, it's
Eagles
one
quit
diva
on Sirianni.
One diva quit on Tomlin.
Yeah.
The guys weren't blocking last 2 weeks ago.
One guy.
The rest of the team was
one guy
playing their ass
off. You can't praise Tomlin for the same thing that you bashed Sirianni on.
Tomlin has never had a losing season ever.
Yeah, it's the most amazing stat ever. Even Belichick can't claim
with trash rosters.
You guys are gonna hate me. I'm just saying this just to piss you off. Neither is Sirianni, but let's keep going.
I don't know why you're so. I mean, I don't know. You guys are you blood relatives or something? Why are you defending this guy so much?
I'm saying he's getting. If he gets fired, he doesn't deserve to be fired. He did a bad job at the end of the year, but he didn't.
I don't think he deserves to be fired.
That's my point. But
I don't want to go back to the Eagles, but if Peterson had a short leash after winning the Super Bowl because he lost the locker room,
I think
Sirianni should have an even shorter leash for losing the locker room and not winning.
The Peterson thing with a personality, he didn't get along.
Peterson also was ready to. He knew where he was going.
Peterson lost the locker room. That's why he got fired after winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, shocker. Everyone loses the locker room eventually in Philadelphia. It took Andy Reid 10 years, but he eventually walked away from
Philadelphia.
It's the media, environment it's the people, it's the shitty food, it's everything. Nobody wants to be there.
Anyway, keep going. Tomlin's the greatest coach ever. Never lose.
He's not the greatest coach ever, and I don't want him anywhere near the Commanders. He's the wrong fit. He's the wrong fit for the Commanders.
I've backed off on that.
I can give him kudos for an incredible season and having his team prepared to play and making it to the playoffs. I mean, I think that's deserving of praise. I was surprised that the Bills just finished the game a little flat. I don't know what to make of that, if anything. And the weather looks to be terrible again this weekend as they host the Chiefs. So I mean, I don't have much else to say about this game, honestly. I mean, I love when Josh Allen plays loose because you get some 50-yard runs here and there, but they've offensively they're limited. I mean, that's my honest opinion. I think they've got 2 serviceable tight ends, but neither one is going to catch 6 for 60 yards. It's going to be one or the other. And they're very one-dimensional. I mean, they don't have a running game to speak of.
They need a quarterback, and there's rumors of them pursuing Russ this offseason. So let's see if that happens.
Who needs a quarterback?
Bills? Steelers.
No, you're talking about Steelers. Yeah, I'm talking about the Bills. Bills.
If Russ went to the Steelers, that would be very boring. Just the most boring player, the most boring team. It's exactly this. The Steelers are the Seahawks of the AFC.
I can't see
boring.
I can't see Tomlin wanting to mess with that. No.
Why?
Russ is done, man. Russ is done. He was having. I know, like the stat lines are misleading because it shows like 3 touchdowns, but then you look at the yards, it's like 180 yards. Like it's bad. It's bad.
I will say for the Bills, the interesting thing coming into this offseason, especially if they fumble against the Chiefs hosting them, McDermott might be the most successful coach with the warmest seat. I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat, but it's it's warmer than all the other successful coaches out
If
there.
they lose on Sunday, he might get fired.
The first time hosting, yeah. I mean, it could be.
This is like they have to win this
tough,
game.
boys.
It's
a must win, but is it gonna?
Yeah.
Why would it cost them his job?
Because he essentially wasted their Super Bowl window.
Yeah, and it's the same argument.
I mean, if that happens, then the Belichick rumors are going to start up right away.
If you can
immediately, if you can get Bill,
stay in the division, go to Buffalo.
Well, if that happens, would you hate the idea of McDermott possibly coming here?
You
remember how awful the Bills were before him? They were the laughing stocks of the league, more so than us. More so than the Panthers. They were bottom dwellers.
He's not the right fit for DC.
Why? If anything,
DC's not Buffalo, man. Like, and it's off the field stuff. It's just in my head. Like DC is a flashy city.
Media, yeah. But
DC's got a tough media market. DC's got congressmen and politics and every ethnicity and every whatever. Like,
McDermott did the one thing you need for here, which was the front office and McDermott practiced patience with Josh Allen, didn't abandon him, and Josh Allen turned into Josh Allen. Right? They developed the quarterback.
They got a
quarterback top of the league right now.
They also, but they haven't been super successful drafting at other positions.
I agree.
This is here
and I would probably give a lot of credit to Josh Allen's development to Brian Daboll, who's no longer there, but he was the offensive coordinator who made Josh Allen make the leap that he did. And there's also been turmoil with the different coaches that he's had, offensive coordinators.
Sure. I agree.
I don't think
I would hate it if he came here, but I don't think he's my top 3-4 choices.
Josh Allen he's always flirting with that elite moniker, right? Or like great moniker. Yeah. Like he shows it at times.
And then he throws 3 interceptions.
Exactly. Like the Steelers game is a good example, right? 3 good quarters and 1 just completely flat quarter.
The season as a whole, right? Like they were 6-6, 3% chance to make the playoffs, and then somehow, some way, they're the 2 seed.
The 2 seed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which game you want to go to next? We talked a little bit. I mean, are we done talking about how awesome the Packers played? Are either of you giving the Packers a chance against the 49ers? I give them a chance.
No
give me a percentage, Raz.
A lot of money. My research has shown a lot of money is going on the Packers.
Give me a percent chance that Packers go to San Francisco and win.
25.
Less than 5.
25. Oh wow.
Less than 5.
I'm going way higher. I'm going way higher.
You have to realize the reason
49% chance.
The reason why the Packers did so well against the Cowboys, we said it earlier in this podcast, was the game plan, the prep, Matt LaFleur, genius play calling. All of that came from Kyle. Kyle knows everything LaFleur is going to do top to bottom.
Yeah.
Kyle's even better than LaFleur.
Kyle has struggled against his former coach mates.
No, he rocked McVay, and I'm pretty sure they keep beating LaFleur as well.
And they beat Miami this year, I feel like, too.
Kyle does not struggle against his protégés.
I don't know. I just like the way the Packers are playing.
Be careful, Joe. Don't get too excited. Like, the Packers look great. I'm like, but
if they run the ball.
You know what? I will say this, right? Every year, right, we get kind of drunk off joy that it's the playoffs. And we see these wild card games. We're like, oh, these teams are amazing. And you forget that the 1 seeds are sitting back, just chilling there. The 2 beasts, the Ravens and the Niners, are just chilling. And then they come out, and then you're like, oh, that's why they're the 1 seed.
There was a clip I saw of Kyle Shanahan. They asked him when he started prepping for the Packers.
He smirked
during the second quarter of the game against the Cowboys. So
I mean, that's
and I just want one other thing, connecting about the Commanders. Don't forget who the Packers defensive coordinator is.
Joe Barry.
Our good friend Joe Barry. I think Kyle's going to know what to do against that defense.
I don't think he's scared of that defense. Yeah. And it's like 20. Like he hates it, but like Brock Purdy's the check down king, and he gets 400,000 yards of yak a game from his elite players.
If McCaffrey,
and everyone's healthy.
McCaffrey's claiming he's close to healthy. Debo's claiming he's
everyone's
fine,
healthy.
good to go. So
I'm looking well rested.
I'm looking forward to that game, but I do think LaFleur. I think LaFleur can scheme 20 points. 20.
It'll be a chess
Sure,
match.
yeah.
Against
won't
an
be a
elite
chess match.
defense in the
It's
49ers.
not going to be a shutout or anything like that. But the one thing I'll say for the
I'm
49ers,
LaFleur, run everything Chase Young's way. You'll do fine.
49ers got so lucky of how round one went. They lost the Rams. They would have played the Rams. The Rams lost. Well, they would have actually. They had to play the Packers based on seeding. But the Cowboys, the Rams, and the Eagles. I know Eagles weren't looking good at the end.
Easiest path to the Super Bowl.
It's out, but they're all out. Their competition to get to the Super Bowl is Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who look great on Monday night, will not look great on Sunday. Jared Goff and the Lions, who look great but not scary, and the Packers. Like, this is the easiest path to the Super Bowl for the Niners. They have to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean,
you saying with the Rams, Cowboys, and Eagles?
No, I'm thinking through it. I'm thinking through it on the AFC side, right? Assuming the Ravens beat the Texans, they have. I mean, whoever they get, whether it's the Chiefs or the Bills, is going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm saying just getting there, they have to get there. I'm not saying they have to win because they're going to get the Ravens, they're going to get the Bills, or they're going to get the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think the Packers. I think it'll be a good game. I mean, the Packers. Let's be honest. Most of us didn't have them beating the Cowboys, or if they maybe covering points, but not the way that they handled.
Not main handling.
And then looking at the other two games, that we haven't talked about these yet either. Joe Flacco and the Browns just a bad game. Bad game all around. The Texans just look. The Texans are, as a Commanders fan, they give me such hope that you get the right pieces in place. I mean, before Tank Dell went down, he was elite level good at wide receiver. Nico Collins, elite level production at wide receiver. They've got a committee at running back spearheaded by Dameon Pierce. But, I mean, CJ just looks fearless in the pocket. He's willing to sling it all over the field. They're just a good team. And they've like, sky's the limit for them, honestly.
Well, that's why the stock for Slowick has risen significantly.
As it should. As it should.
Yeah.
The only knock on him is he only had 1 year as the coordinator.
Well, and he's a former defensive guy, right? I don't know how I necessarily feel about. I suppose you
can't call him a former defensive guy. He was an offensive guy, and before he became a coordinator, Kyle was like, "Go spend time with the defense, learn everything about the defense. That's what makes you better at being an offensive guy." So he did that on our team.
Coordinator.
He did that on our team, and then he immediately went back to the offense when he joined Kyle again. So he had like a
coordinator and then offensive coordinator.
He had a defensive internship for a year. Like that's all it was.
I didn't have the Browns losing. I thought they could win, but they couldn't run the ball. Flacco just didn't look good. I mean, he's an old guy. He's allowed to have a bad game after 2 months of really good games.
Yeah.
But he's not. This was actually a dream scenario for the Browns.
Yeah, because now they can roll back to Deshaun and not have to deal with.
If Flacco won a playoff game against the Texans and then went to Baltimore, and let's just say was at least competitive against Baltimore. What do you do next season if you're the Browns? You have $250 million guaranteed to Deshaun Watson and Joe Flacco.
The conspiracy theory I heard is from my buddy Mr. Dukes from Chad, is that he thinks the Browns He thinks the Browns went to Flacco and basically here's $500,000 to suck it up, throw the ball straight up in the air because we can't deal with.
Oh, you're saying this past weekend?
They threw the game so that they can roll back with Watson
because they've got a $200 million locked up in Deshaun. Like, it would be a good business decision here to make sure Flacco doesn't come back or have a seat on the roster. But that game was probably the least
most surprising, I think, because of just how well CJ Stroud played.
CJ looks great. We'll go back to percentages here, but do you give the Texans more?
I give them a better shot at beating the Ravens, but just because I'm not a Ravens guy, I'd pick the Texans over the Ravens before I pick the Packers over the Niners.
I think if the Texans are lucky, DC Metro, Baltimore, whatever, we're expecting another half foot to almost a foot of snow on Friday.
Yeah.
By Saturday afternoon, if that field is frozen and miserable, I think all bets are off on that. Really, like, advantage still to the Ravens because Lamar.
Are we going to hammer Ravens? Texans plus 8.5. I think it went up to 9.5. Hold on, let me check FanDuel.
9.5. I would take it. I don't think they beat him. I don't think they can beat him by 2 scores.
I mean,
It's not
It's 9.5 right now. We can hammer 9.5.
FP. You're shaking your head.
I
take the points. Yes.
I just the Ravens have a history of being the 1 seed, resting too much, coming out flat. So I would take.
I don't trust Lamar in the playoffs. I'm gonna pick whoever Buffalo.
It's hard. It's hard to not trust this year's Lamar.
MVP Lamar.
Just like we did it.
New offensive coordinator Lamar. It's hard to not trust it.
I mean, we trusted this year's Cowboys. How many of you?
I did not trust. The Cowboys at all.
saying when you factor in weather, I don't think you can. I can't trust him as much given the weather. Like because they don't
now.
They've got committee running back.
I don't trust the Ravens. I don't trust Lamar. Whoever Kansas City and Buffalo, whoever wins on Sunday, will beat the Ravens.
Razzle, I think you forgot what kind of Ravens team came out this year.
I think
not the same Ravens
overestimating
team.
how
and Mark Andrews might be coming back.
He is coming back.
The Chiefs also stink. Isaiah Pacheco, I don't think he's got 3 of those games in him.
Yeah, if they weren't playing Miami in negative 30 degrees, they would have had a harder time.
I'm not going to bet against.
I mean, Kelsey for the first
looks very old.
Looks old. Like you remember when Gronk, when he just didn't have it anymore. There's a very distinct play I remember when Gronk went in on a Hail Mary play or something to stop Miami from potentially scoring.
He could barely jump.
He couldn't jump. He couldn't run. He got beat to the goal line.
Gronk had a lot more injuries and took the year off.
They're same age.
Chelsea's been relatively healthy for his career.
But cold makes everyone old, right? That's the old cold makes everyone old.
We'll see what the weather looks like in Baltimore. I'm just saying, I just can't get too excited on this Ravens team. Yes, they've looked good. They've always been a really good regular
team. What percent
just
chance,
like the Cowboys?
What percent chance do you have the Texans upsetting the Ravens at home? Give me a percent. I'm gonna go.
You keep
30. I'm gonna go
30%. I don't want to get too excited on the. I thought
give me a percent.
No, you can't. You can't compare what the Ravens look like to the Cowboys, right? If you want to go regular season, do it right now. Do it right now. I want to see your facial reaction. Pull up the Cowboys schedule and their wins and losses.
Yes,
pull up the Ravens schedule. The Ravens whooped ass on a lot of the playoff teams that are still in
Miami,
it right now.
They beat San Francisco,
the Lions, the Rams. They
beat the Rams
and not just beat them down.
Yes, but they weren't running on a frozen field. They weren't playing. They weren't playing with a ball.
Frozen field.
It is their frozen field, and their fans will show up. But
they're getting a turf team.
I don't think
he's taking the 9.5 and he's taking the Ravens.
I'm wearing purple somehow, so it works out. I'm going Ravens.
All right.
9.5.
Okay. Last game from Super Wildcard weekend was the one that I think secretly a lot of us were, 2 games. The Dolphins at the Chiefs just didn't turn into what I think many of us were expecting. The weather, as it got colder, maybe this was what we should have been expecting. Just an ugly one. Tyreek did nothing. Cheetah did nothing.
He was the only one that did something, though.
It was interesting to see how cold it was, and it's fine, I guess. But the game itself was not much of a game. Isaiah Pacheco, like I said, I don't think he's got 2 or 3. Maybe he's got 2 of those in him. I don't think he's got 3 of those games in him.
Rashee Rice looked legit.
Yes,
they're getting Sky Moore back from IR, I believe.
He can't catch anything, so
better than the rest of their guys.
Well, I think it's going to have to. Going into Buffalo, it's going to
happen. Darius he wasn't on the field on Saturday.
That's how bad he is. They didn't even activate him.
He shouldn't be on the field. He shouldn't be. Yeah, but the Dolphins, we talked about the Eagles and their collapse down the stretch. The Dolphins also just, talk about taking your foot off the gas. I would say the Dolphins had the injury bug. No. The Dolphins had more of an injury bug, but they were still bought into the team, the coach, the system. But young coach also didn't know when to sit players and when to hit cruise control. He didn't. The preparation for this game.
Who would you rather be, the Cowboys or the Dolphins? I'm not going to bring the Eagles back in the conversation. Who would you rather be going into next year?
I would rather be.
I think the Cowboys, just because as great as Tua has played, Tua's greatness came from Tyreek.
The Cowboys don't need a quarterback. The Dolphins might. Right. I'm not sold on Tua. Like the Dolphins have 2 stud receivers, 2 stud running backs, a serviceable tight end, and a defense when healthy. Remember, they lost some key pieces down the
They lost
stretch.
Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips.
They lost a bunch, right? So like they're really close. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins try to move Tua this offseason, and then
Nobody wants him.
No.
Where would you try to move him? You got to bring someone to compete
Carolina.
with him. That's it.
I mean, maybe Carolina would take him. Chicago might take him.
If Dak had the weapons that Tua has,
Yeah.
astronomical record-breaking numbers.
I think I would rather be to answer your question, Razzie. I would rather be the Cowboys because I think the Dolphins are missing a bigger piece. Cowboys, you add Derrick Henry, you're right back. Worst case, you're winning. You're competing or winning the division.
You're back to where you are today. Yeah.
The Dolphins are close, right? I mean, I think they can get back to the playoffs, but they need an upgrade. They need like a Kirk. They need someone who's going to stand in the pocket and legitimately thread the needle, get the ball out.
Kirk's a free agent right now, so he has
bring in the DC, baby. We want Kirk back in DC.
No, we don't.
I want back in DC.
Kirk would be smart to go, like Joe was about to say, wherever he's familiar with that coaching staff. He's familiar with McDaniels.
70 spots where he knows the coaches. And
all his former coaches have jobs.
But Miami is a good If you're Kirk, I mean, if they can make it work, that is
it's not a Christian enough city. He can't go there.
But it's a great.
He's ready to take a hometown discount, though.
He's not going to build. He can't build a mega church on South Beach.
It
won't work out.
It would be a great spot for him.
Minnesota will not let Kirk go. They saw what happens without Kirk this season. They're not going to let him go.
But are they going to pay him? Is he worth being paid with that roster?
Yes. This season proved it that he's worth being paid.
Yeah.
Think with the roster around him. It's not a dig at Kirk, it's a dig at the Vikings.
No, because Minnesota, similar to the Cowboys, they just need a real running back, right? They let Dalvin Cook go. They couldn't replicate any of his production.
Yeah.
They just need a running back, right? They have the receivers.
That division is tougher, though.
That division's tougher, but the defense kind of worked itself out, and Kirk is Kirk. If they were to get Derrick Henry, that's
oh my God, you guys! Derrick Henry's not the savior of all these teams.
Derrick Henry
miles does Derrick Henry have on him?
Hey, Derrick Henry is the metaphor for a strong run game. We don't actually mean Derrick Henry.
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
we just mean
the Cowboys.
You may not have people.
With the Cowboys, I mean actual Derrick Henry. Yes.
Yeah, with Minnesota, I mean actual Derrick Henry.
And I think too. Derrick has played enough games out in the open in crappy weather where he's gonna target dome teams and warm weather teams, right? He knows he doesn't have forever
Minnesota
left to play. Or San Diego,
wherever he ends up next year. I'm taking the under on
San Diego. Jesus, not San Diego. What's LA Chargers?
LA.
Yeah. Okay, and then one last game here to talk about: the Rams at the Lions. I think it was the one we were all looking forward to the most. It was definitely the best game of the weekend, in my opinion, as well. I know I hyped the Rams big time over the back half of the season. I love what they were doing and how much juice McVay was squeezing out of that roster. But I think we all picked the Lions, and the Lions did ultimately end up winning that game. I just think they have the magic sauce right now. I think they are the team of destiny. I love what the Lions are doing. I know the coach and everybody's all hyped up on everything, but Jared Goff made some incredible plays down the stretch of that game, and their defense showed up. I mean, the defense did what they needed to do against a very talented Rams offense. And frankly, they should be able to dispense of the Bucs. I think
he's not ready to do that yet. He's on the Baker train.
All right, tell me why not.
I'm not on the Baker train.
He loves that white trash. He loves white trash Baker.
I'm on that Todd Bowles persistent blitzing train. Listen, Jared Goff is still Jared Goff. Somewhere in there's the Jared Goff we all know. And if he gets blitzed and hit over and over and over and over again, it's kind of the Tom Brady method, right? You get in his face and you hit him, it all falls apart.
Well, they had an answer again for the Rams defense, which has one of the best, defensive linemen.
It's different to have Aaron Donald demanding triple team coverage over elaborate blitzing schemes hidden that are just constantly coming at you.
You think the Lions, I mean, of all the games this weekend, this is honestly the one I was most confident in. Maybe 49ers Packers. Maybe I go either,
I would be more confident 49ers beating the Packers. It's just listen, I hate to say it because I love the Lions, but they're the Lions.
Yeah, and they did.
It's
get
hard.
the
And
playoff
Dan
back.
Campbell
They
sometimes
beat-
gets a little too confident, a little too cute.
Honestly,
It's
that's why I picked the Rams because I didn't trust Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
in division making. But I just
do I think the Lions will win? Yes. But will I say hands down that's one of the easier games of the weekend? No. I don't think
the
that.
problem with the Bucs is what you don't know what team you're going to get in Week 18 with the division on the line. They beat the Panthers 9-0. Okay, then we saw what they did on Monday night against the Eagles. So what?
Sure.
Now they're going to go on the road to Detroit. That stadium's going to be rocking. They're so excited to get another home game.
But what is Detroit's biggest weakness, right? It's their secondary on defense, right? Because Puka went off. All of a sudden, you bring in Mike Evans and Godwin. They didn't have great games against the Eagles, but everybody else stepped up, right? Everybody else on that.
I got Mike Evans anytime touchdown on all my parlays.
Yeah, but it's if Mike Evans and Godwin say we sucked against the Eagles, we're going to step it up against the Lions. It could be a much much closer game.
What's the over under? That's gonna be a high scoring game.
I think I saw it at 4.
48.5.
Yeah, I would take the over.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got these matchups. I mean, let's see, Saturday. What's the first one?
Saturday's the Houston Texans. I feel like every Houston Texans playoff game has to be at 4:30 on a Saturday.
Well, they're the worst drawing team. So it's Houston at Baltimore Saturday at 4.
Well, they also need to give Buffalo an extra day because they moved the game to Monday.
And then we've got Packers at 49ers Saturday evening.
That's going to be the best of the weekend.
In the twilight, which would be nice. And then Sunday, 3:00 is the Bucs at the Lions, which I think they should have moved that one personally to the evening. I think that's the better game. And then Chiefs at Bills.
That's better than the Chiefs. I mean, Tony Romo.
I'm not on the Chiefs. I don't think that. I actually don't.
Bills, CBS. That's the best.
The Lions. The Lions are a bigger story. The Lions are a bigger story.
Do you know how insufferable it's going to be to hear Romo talking about Allen and Mahomes?
Oh my!
I'm going to watch that game on mute. It's going to be terrible.
I love it.
Oh my God, it's going to be awful. He's going to have Andy Reid questionable mustache face the whole game.
Yeah.
The frozen snot mustache was just tough.
Oh, again, this is the game of the week.
Explosion all over the
CBS was dreaming of.
I'm not that excited about it. I actually don't think it'll be that good of a game. I just don't. Yeah. I don't think the Chiefs.
Are you picking Buffalo?
Yeah, I'll take Buffalo. I'd like to see Buffalo travel to. I mean, I would love to see the Texans have to go into Buffalo into the snow. I mean, the Bills, what a home field advantage for them. But I think it'll end up being Bills at Ravens. And in my heart, I do think the Lions get through, and I think it'll be Lions at 49ers.
That would be the best outcome for the championship.
Right there. That's all the favorites.
Yeah. But again, I just have a suspicion that LaFleur, they're playing with house money. Jordan Love is the better quarterback between him and Purdy. That's what I believe.
Yeah, 100%.
So, come on.
Yes.
You just need a couple. Listen, you just need a couple of mistakes.
Bring 20 on here so I can say this to his face.
Same thing happened with Dak.
Brock Purdy is the worst quarterback of all the teams playing this weekend.
Which is, I don't think that's
you're saying you'd rather have Jared Goff or Baker Mayfield than you would Brock Purdy?
100%.
Yes. 2 former number 1 overall picks. Yes. That have been doing
it. They were drafted.
Did you see some of those passes that Baker made that Mike Evans dropped?
I'm a Baker
they
guy.
were on Mike Evans.
Razzie, if you put
Did
Purdy,
you see those passes that Goff was making?
Put Purdy's
not passing more than 15 yards.
Put him on the Texans. Are they a playoff team? No way.
Yeah.
No. Purdy? No. He has the luxury of Debo and McCaffrey.
He has a lot around him.
And that's good. I'm not taking away from him.
But we've seen other quarterbacks with
just shows up
and around him not do
What
well.
other quarterbacks? Jimmy G?
Trash.
Trey Lance? Trash.
Yeah, all of those guys sucked.
All he has to do is be better than Jimmy G.
We're all on the same team.
Brian Hoyer, whoever else that Kyle brought in before he found Purdy.
Tell me Jeff Garcia next. Brock Purdy's done nothing.
Purdy is. Listen. It's to his
credit. I don't know.
His credit, he's found success.
Smith.
He's found success with the people. I mean,
he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't hold it against him.
No,
if you put him on any of the other teams,
correct,
you would pick that team to lose immediately.
Yes, immediately.
You put him on the Chiefs, the Chiefs lose. You put him on the Bills, the Bills lose. Put him on the Lions or the Bucs.
No, you can't deny he's the worst QB that's playing this weekend. You can't deny it.
Okay. We have 8 quarterbacks. I take Lamar over him. I would take
Everyone.
Mahomes.
You would take
Wait,
everyone.
Let me finish. Mahomes, Allen. Okay, those are 3.
Okay. Love.
That's where he's broken. It's just love. Would you take CJ Stroud over him?
Golf.
Yes,
Mayfield?
going forward because rookie. But I'm saying just the body of work from this past season. Like Purdy had a couple bad games, but he was also in the MVP conversation just 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
But he should never have been in the MVP conversation. No. If anything, Yak for the 49ers should have been in the MVP conversation, not
he
Purdy.
doesn't just throw the ball. I hear what you're saying, but you'll see a lot of 20, 30-yard zinkers down the field to
That's
wide
fine.
open.
He's doing what he's
Guys
supposed
are open. Guys are open, but it's the same scheme that LaFleur built up for Love this week.
Jordan Love elevated the receivers around him, and
Jordan Love is throwing to
fantastic
nobody.
passes.
He's throwing to me and you out there.
Yeah.
TJ has Nico. Look, which team doesn't have receivers that's playing right now? Only the Packers and the Chiefs. You could argue the Chiefs too.
Yeah, those are the 2 weakest.
You guys are a little too hard on Brock Purdy. I'm just saying that. You're just a little too hard on Brock Purdy. I would
not hard on him. I'm just saying.
He is the 4th best quarterback. 5th best.
No, he's the 8th. No, he's the worst quarterback.
He's the worst quarterback playing this week. Do you know how rare it is that me and Joe
listen
like this?
Of all the teams that made the playoffs, the only team with a worse quarterback situation was the Steelers. That's it.
Yes.
It's the only one.
Yeah.
I would take Flacco. I'd give me Flacco.
Oh my gosh. You guys are just haters.
Put Flacco on the 49ers. What happens?
Honestly, not that much less than Purdy, but less than Purdy.
I don't think less than Purdy.
Purdy.
All you need Flacco to do is check down to Debo. Flacco can do that.
I can't wait. I'm going to fire up the chat every time Purdy throws the ball 25 yards.
Please do. Please keep receipts for next week. Keep receipts for next week. Oh my God, he's going to.
The only reason I wouldn't put 20s in the same chat.
Yeah, he must have pissed off 20. He's brownie points here somewhere. What's going on here? This is absurd, Razzle. This is absurd.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
What's the over under? What's the over under for his passing? For Purdy's
passing yards? I'll look it up.
I'll take
whatever it is. I'm taking the under.
232.5 is my guess.
263.
Under.
And that's against the Joe Barry defense.
246.5.
Under, and that's against the Joe Barry defense.
I would take the over on Love because he's not afraid. He's gonna have to sling it.
He's gonna have to sling it. It's gonna be 21-0 in the first quarter, and Purdy's gonna have 2 touchdowns, one to IU, one to Jawan Jennings.
I would love to see Packers at Lions for the conference. I would love to see that.
That would be interesting.
I mean, that feels like a Thanksgiving morning game, not
Well, I mean, I think the NFL wants to see Ravens 49ers. I mean, maybe
the logo.
Right?
It's all about the logo.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Bills 49ers could be an interesting game. I mean, maybe. And
Nobody wants Chiefs 49ers.
I don't want to see Chiefs.
No, we don't want Chiefs.
I love Mayfield, but I don't want to see the Bucs anywhere near that game. Texans just too young, but Lions.
The storyline of the Texans with a first-year coach, a first-year QB getting it all, that's kind of nice. But
their season's already in success.
Yeah.
They lose
Tank was a rookie too. Tank was a rookie too.
Green Bay.
They are the best case scenario for the Commanders, right? Rookies at 2 skill positions and a good coach, and look at what can happen. Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts, boys. Let's put a bow on this one. FP, anything from you?
I want the Niners to go all the way. I don't want Chase to get a ring. That's where I am right now.
You don't want to. You don't root for former skins on other.
Trent,
players?
I want Trent to have a ring. Chase Young, him having a Super Bowl ring breaks my heart. I can't allow that.
Why do you care?
I can't allow that to happen. I hate him with a passion.
All right. Okay, Razzie, final thoughts.
No, I'm my picks. I'm taking the Niners this week. 9.5. What is it? 9.5. I'll take the 9.5 points on the Niners. I'm going to be rooting for the Bucs because the Lions already got their win, and Chiefs Bills will be the best game of the weekend.
I mean, I hope you're right because they got it in that money spot. But I just
got in the money spot. 6:30 CBS. I love what the NFL did when they changed the timing of the games on Sundays.
The 3-6
weekend. The 3-6 is perfect time slot for 2 games. get to go to church, come home, rest a bit, and then 3 o'clock you're ready to go, and you're not staying up till midnight watching a late game.
Does anybody know if Stevie was shoveling snow in his Mike McDaniel's pants?
I think
that's my final thought.
I think
if Stevie was shoveling snow, I mean that's.
Yeah, I think McDaniel's has like a WhatsApp chat or a broadcast thing where he lets all of the ankle pants people know,
when and when not to wear.
Yeah, we're going this color this day. We're doing.
Was this the last week of Hard Knocks?
Yeah. This is the last
episode. I'm gonna miss it. I think the Commanders have a legit shot with all the changes to be on.
I think we can volunteer for it, but the only teams forced, I believe, are the Broncos, the Bears, and the Saints.
Ooh, I wouldn't mind the Bears.
Not non-playoff teams, and we're not new coaches, right?
Those are the only two that can be forced.
Yeah.
Saints, okay, Bears, Broncos.
Bears could be a good one. Bears could be a good one, especially with the first overall pick.
Saints would be good just to get Jameis Winston on camera.
Jameis
that's cool.
He won't be there next year after what he did.
I mean, low key, would you hate him in a Commander's uniform?
Yes.
Come on, Joe.
I kind of like it.
Come on,
him with the DC media would be
keep going. Yeah, we're gonna be here
with the logo, trying to take a bite out of the W.
We'll be here every night doing shows because of Jameis.
No,
I mean, give me Kirk. I mean, if I can have a guy, give me Kirk. You know who I don't want? I don't want any of the rookies. That's what I don't want any rookies.
You want a rookie?
No,
you want a rookie that you can build around. It's
I don't.
The new page. We are.
We already did it. We already did Carolina. No. I'm out.
Carolina just picked the wrong.
You
guy.
want Howell over the rookies?
You get the second pick.
I'm fine.
You don't have to pick the wrong guy.
We always pick the wrong guy. We just had. Listen, this is my final thought because I mean this is too much for me. But people that are like, you don't get to pick this high. We get to pick this high all the freaking time. Okay, we picked this high like 4 minutes ago. Like literally Ron's first year, we got to pick this high. Okay,
but it wasn't a quarterback. I mean, we could have. Justin Herbert was there.
Yeah, we
nobody was taking anybody over Chase. Number 2.
Chase was supposed to be the first pick, but Burrow.
Nobody was going to take.
Burrow would have been a Redskin. Yes, and Burrow would have been.
Well, we were supposed to have the first pick, and we screwed up. But that's another day.
That's another topic for another day. Yes.
We've discussed it ad nauseum.
Blackjack hands, boys. Blackjack hands. Thank you for making time. The show is Defeating the Curse, available wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on any social media platform as well. Wherever you death scroll, just type in DTC and give us a follow. Till next week, we are out.